I've learned a new term with these puppies. In watching these trainers, they talk about high-valued treats. Well, I didn't know what a high-value treat was. Went to Tractor Supply and got this. And when you take a look at this, it's rather interesting. It looks like a piece of chipboard that was sprayed with maybe some kind of beef fat or something like that. They'll eat it. So come here, Code. Come here, Code. So you can see Pepper really, really wants some of this treat. But I have found that high-valued treats, right here, tri-tip fat, man, they absolutely go crazy. If you heat this stuff up, they go bananas over this. Our world seems to be in a situation where they're trying to substitute this kind of stuff for actual real substance. And I want to talk a little bit about that today and how that can affect us. Our scripture is in Colossians 4:12, and it says, Ephraim, who was one of you, a servant of Christ, salute you, always laboring fervent for you in prayers, that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. And so here we see that Paul is saying, Ephraim, we're going to be praying for you. We're going to be praying that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. And so the encouragement that Paul is sending is so needful. And in fact, we need that kind of encouragement today. We need the camaraderie today. And what's amazing is that Ephraim knew that he was a man of God that had a purpose that he needed to carry out. And the other thing is that this kind of activity kind of kept him on the move. No doubt the enemy was trying to distract him in a lot of different ways. In our world today, what seems to have happened is we see an increase in anxiety and depression. And we're having a hard time pinpointing what it is. And so we mask it and we medicate it. I was listening to a gentleman and he spoke about 9 different things that brought about depression, and 2 of them were biological. The other 7 were much more psychological, I believe spiritual. And so what has happened is we have been disconnected in our society, and we've allowed the enemy to do this. He's much about division. And so when you take a look at things that have kind of poorly brought people together but haven't got to the root of the issue, one would be video games for young boys. They bring together young boys, and so they pull them back together in kind of a tribe. They give them a status, there's some kind of reward, and there's a semblance of movement, but it never really takes care of the heart issues. He talked about one doctor that had a series of patients that were not doing well, and so he encouraged them, because the medication was not working, to come together collectively and to develop a garden. And in developing this garden and working in the soil and being connected with what God gave us to steward, they began to experience healing. They were together and they had this project that they were working on, and it was very therapeutic. And when one wasn't there, they would contact that person, they would check on it, and they began to do whatever they could to help one another, and they got healing, and they began to blossom as the garden blossomed. It was absolutely amazing. And so this is very important. Now, the other thing that you can see in our world is distractions. There are distractions everywhere, and distractions try to substitute these junk values for high value. And so oftentimes we'll take the junk values. Right, lady, would you like this? Nope, she's not liking it. Cody, would you like it? Yeah, he'll take it. we'll take that. There was a group of people that began to get together, and they began to share what some of their distractions were, and it was amazing. One of the examples was that an individual thought he needed a new pair of Nike shoes. Well, he had a lot of Nike shoes, but he just really needed this new pair. And so he got together with this group where they got together frequently, and as they began to ask him questions, he realized that he didn't need these shoes at all, that he had really bought into what seems to be a hurricane of messages that said he needed these shoes and his life wouldn't be complete without them. And we've all experienced this. The Quakers call it a clarifying committee, and if you're a part of a group of people, you're a part of a church that you can talk to people about these things, you can live without it, and you can see that you can, instead of focusing on junk values, that you can have some high values. The highest value, no doubt, is to live for Jesus Christ and to live in the will of God. And so let us strive to do just that. May God richly bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in.